fragrances, perfume, and cologne were originally created for men and women. Then, it transferred to only women wearing fragrances since it was seen as feminine. Then, it came back into trend for men using them again since it was seen as an extension of male sexuality. In this modern day, we see teens and kids huffing exotic smells. These kids no longer pick up Axe for their post-locker room run. Instead, they're grabbing their Jean-Paul Gaultier to spray after they ran their 12-minute miles. Axe bombs are in scarcity at the moment.
Yet the idea lingers. How does one make such a bomb?
Teenagers are buying $200 bottles of exotic fragrances that smell like blood, mixed with leather, gunpowder, bandages, iodine, and like a meteor.
I just hit the earth.
We must first immerse ourselves in the internet landscape, schedule interviews, and delve into why teenage boys' annual spending on fragrance rose to
more than 20%
in the year ending in March. Axe and Old Spice fell in its rankings of teenage boys' favorite fragrance brands, while luxury brands like Jean-Paul Gaultier rise in popularity. Where did this rise come from? Well, in March of 2020, social isolation and lockdown, we can see from the chart that there is a clear drop in sales. Manufacturing started to shut down, which created a shortage of inventory.
As production slowed down for fragrances, the production in our friends also decreased since we were all stuck in our rooms, isolated, unemployed, and with no friends. And what did we do with our time exactly? We consumed media, of course. And one of the biggest media outlets has to be TikTok. Now, TikTok is one of the biggest perpetrators to the rise in teen consumption, as a platform is full of short-form content that catches the attentions of millions of users ranging from different ages. As content is shoved to you by your FYP, you may randomly be greeted by the many influencers that push fragrance content to their audiences, and you soon might be abducted into their cult followings. Back before we were entertained by TikTok and Reels, let's just say in the Axe locker room days, we had to really go look and search for information. Now in this modern day, all you have to do is open your phone and let TikTok's algorithm decide what you'll be buying into next. Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, the answer to the rise in teen spending are influencers, or what I like to call them, fragrance-fluencers. And you might be asking yourself, who's the main culprit of all this? Who's the mafia boss? Well, that's Jeremy Fragrance for you.
What was that?
He is the patient zero to why so many people are interested in fragrances. He also has the most recognizable face in the fragrance community as well as mainstream influencers. From sniffing teens' necks to posting Sigma edits of himself, the man has it all. Besides Jeremy, there's also the Fragrance Kid, the Cologne Boy, and Noel Thomas, peddling mainstream fragrances to their young audiences. Now, as many of us know, influencers hold a lot of power over their audiences. The thing we see specifically with fragrances is that we see a lot of these influencers preying on the insecurities of their young, impressionable audiences. A lot of fragrance creators push the narrative of either hyper-individuality, fragrances to get women, fragrances to be noticed, and any other hooks I couldn't think of. The thing here is, preying on insecurities helps get views and engagement. It tugs on your brain and gives you a solution to your problem. Buy this generic fragrance, and it will acquire you friendship, and this one will also cure your inability to talk to women. Oh, and this one, it will cure your social anxiety. No matter how good you smell, no fragrance will fix your personality or make you more desirable. But regardless, this pulls in millions of views and gets people talking about fragrances, which in turn gets more people into the hobby of consuming that perfectly packaged liquid smell. And since we're on the top of liquid smells, I can't smell anything right now because my nose is clogged up and I'm really sick, so excuse my nasaliness. Is nasaliness even a word? Let's move on.
As our investigation continues, this leads us to Oswald's, a fragrance store located in NYC, to further gain some insights to my questions from a valuable source.
literally just thinking of this on the train today, and I was, I read the New York Times articles, I know Jeremy, and I think that a lot of this is actually just a part of the times we're in. So for like young people, in my opinion, there's not a lot to do as there was in like previous generations. So I really think this kind of became a hobby and became a place for young kids to connect, and clearly with social media is one of the main influences on this. So I think it's just like a perfect combination in a storm of things to share a mutual interest with, TikTok, Instagram, and for some reason children really look up to Jeremy Fragrances in particular, but I think that's because he gave them involvement in his videos as well. Absolutely. I'm seeing kids as young as like 8 years old now, and it's insane. And it's like kids from all over the world. Like I think I told you a story about the little Swedish kid that came in and became a man, and but yeah, and it's weird, but it's also another way I think these kids can connect, because they can all meet up, they can all go to a fragrance store. It's something that this genre is very subjective, so they can all express themselves and tell what their feelings are over one scent. And maybe, in my opinion, just watching this is a way that they can have an opinion and it's not judged, and it's almost like a form of communication and acceptance between these groups. So I think it's a pure psychological thing as well. Being in this industry for a very long time, this is considered the beauty industry. And no matter how people want to frame it, I think every category has its time. I have been around for the nail polish craze, where people were spending upwards of over $100 on a single nail polish. I've been around for the beauty craze, where cosmetics and eye palettes were selling for over $300. I've been around for the skincare crazes, where literally there's creams, potions, and lotions going for $5,000. In my opinion, I think this moment we're in is the time for perfume and niche luxury perfumes in particular, and you can see all the stores adjusting to that. Like Bergdorf, back in the day, the only area for fragrance was a little room right where the escalator is. It is now the entire back of the store. You can go to Printemps in Paris. They dedicated a whole floor to just fragrance. Is it going to be around? I think so. Is it going to get bigger? Possibly, but the pendulum swings the other way, and it will go back to a different category, and it will, in my opinion, do the Pac-Man effect. And I think, we'll be back. And if you notice, that's been very down. So I think the category is always alive. I think it's just what part of the category will rise and fall.
This still doesn't answer who's putting the youngsters onto niche exotic smells. In order to smell past the top and heart notes, we must get to the base notes of where the niche craze is coming from. So I reached out to 2 niche fragrance creators to further gain some insight. The first being Brand Sense.
I'm Brand Sense, I'm a fragrance TikToker, and I've been creating content for about 3 years, and within the past year and a half, I've seen a massive shift in my own content. I'm more of a niche fragrance creator now. I still enjoy designer perfumes, but I delve into what niche is all about, the darker scents, the more nitty-gritty, and I enjoy difference within perfumery. I think it's the story they tell and the brand's message. Specifically with Otto Parisi, I experienced the brand through a friend who'd recommended it. He's also a content creator, and you're buying into a story and a feeling in the art of the perfume, rather than just being sold you will smell like the ocean or you will smell like the forest. I like to see the story behind the perfumes. With Bergamask, it's about a dance festival where they're applying bergamot oil from the harvest, and all their bodies are heating up, and through the perfume you get the same feeling as being in that dance festival. So I get an emotional connection with the niche perfumes. I've had people message me saying, should I buy Otto Parisi Koyum or Inexcusable Evil, when they've been 12, 13 years old? And I think, you might get kicked out of school if you wear them. But no, all the way up to like 50. The age, it ranges massively, but I think the people that are interested in my content are just very open-minded no matter what age they are. But I do see a massive increase in teenagers wearing niche perfumes. my series make the fragrance houses very palatable because I break down what the scents are all about, where the stories come from. I give it a rating at the end, which lets my followers know that have similar taste to me, how I feel about the perfume. And then at the end of the series, I do a ranking list from my least favorite to my favorite. So I feel like, yes, I will have had a very big play into the role of people getting more onto the niche, into the niche market. But I think as times go forward, people are looking for these easy pleasures. To smell a perfume, it's always going to be enjoyable. And if you're being told a story and you're smelling something, and it's the small pleasures in life, I feel like people are looking more towards at the moment. And perfume is very accessible, more accessible now than it's ever been before. You can buy it online, you can go to stores. There's numerous decanters online. There's a lot of sample services. So I think my videos help, but the accessibility of perfume is huge. And I feel like people are enjoying coming along on this journey with me because it is a lot of discovery for myself. And, the younger crowd enjoy the zoologist fragrances because it's animals and it's easy to get along with. But yeah, I do feel like my videos have a big push, and they do draw a lot of views, and they're interesting. The stories are interesting. I've received offers from some brands, and they say, we'd love you to review our stuff, but if I'm not passionately involved in the brand, I won't review them. Like, Zoologist massively took off. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest with you, because it was a brand that Victor, who runs the brand, he's a great guy. I talk to him quite often. He just sent the samples out, not wanting to, even receive any reviews, and I had 32 samples at that point. There's now 36 zoologist fragrances. It's a huge range, and I had people messaging me since day one saying, I've just picked up Sloth, and I'm like, wow, that is such a crazy perfume. And he was like, yeah, I'm 14, and I'm like, that is crazy. So yeah, I love it, man.
I am Annabelle, known on TikTok as I Smell Unusual. I make unusual fragrances niche content, and it's been almost 2 years since my first video, and I have been mentioned in the New York Times and Buzz magazine, and I love what I do, and I will keep doing it, and I will help you find unusual, unpopular, weird fragrances. So the major changes that I have noticed is more younger people are entering this world, and mostly the niche fragrance world. So a couple years ago, the interest in teenagers were only like designer fragrances, like affordable fragrances. Now I've seen a rise in interest in niche fragrances that are potentially also not that affordable. There has been a total shift, and even more interesting, like people will call them like a little bit challenging fragrances. That's really interesting. Like young boys, young girls want to try challenging fragrances like Toscovat and Zoologist. And yeah, it's like the taste have been expanded, and people are liking more unusual stuff. That's what I've seen. I think that the credit has to be from TikTok, I think. So mostly from social media, of course. I think for young people, it's more about feeling a part of a group, a part of something, a community of people, and maybe they see like Branson's, Jeremy Fragrance, or other content creators, maybe sometimes even me, I don't know, and they see what I like, what I talk about, and they see my aesthetics, my vibes, my taste, and they see what they like, so they want to be part of it. Maybe that's the thing, because I can remember myself being a teenager and wanting to feel like part of something, and the beauty of sometimes not for everybody to fit in, to feel included in something. So you say, I have Bergamas by Orto Parisi, and this is such a cool, nice fragrance, and everybody loves it, and I am happy about it. Like, I think that's sometimes the spirit.
Yeah, it's an ambulance. What can I do? To move forward from that, let's talk about the negatives. Just very quickly, there's so many different things besides the influence, the consumeristic mindsets behind people buying fragrances and being influenced by people, and there's really not much thought behind it. You're just being told what to buy from influencers that you've developed some sort of parasocial relationship from, and you believe whatever they say and you buy into their personality. There's so many negatives. Kids getting into fragrances, believing that they're going to become more adult-like or more sexy or more attractive. You're not going to be more sexy, you still look ugly, and you dress really badly. But the thing is, people need to develop their own tastes, their own opinions about something, rather than just listening to one guy sell it to them as a personality they are. People fall in love with a personality, and anything that extends from them, they will buy because of that person's personality rather than the product itself or whatever it is. It could be clothing and or fragrance, it can be a lifestyle, it could be anything. If you like that person enough, the person online that you're watching, like myself, you will listen and do what they tell you. That's harmful. And I think people need to think a little bit harder. But sometimes I can't blame people. I get it. It's hard to think, and honestly, sometimes it's nice to be fed whatever slop I'm going to eat because I don't want to do it myself. It's hard to sit and think and be alone with the thought and really figure it out because, to be honest, it hurts my brain. Nonetheless, I still think and feel that it's necessary to sit and really question why you're buying that perfectly packaged fragrance. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And with that, continue to buy your fragrances. See you later. With the community surrounding fragrance, do you feel like the fragrance community will only continue to grow, or do you feel like it'll plateau at some point?
I think if we're currently if it carries on growing the way it is right now, I think there's going to be a lot of subcultures forming of perfume, because I feel like already now people are grouping into a designer place or a niche place or an indie place. So I think it will carry on to grow, but I feel like there are groups forming, which is, I don't know, maybe a negative thing, but it's natural. Humans love to do it, right?